The spirit that is heading for eternity. Have you ever thought, I would be happier if I had not been born in my own country, but in a country where people are better off? I was very ill when the Korean War broke out, and there was a time when I thought, why did I have to be born a citizen of this country and go through this war? Physically, I am very ill. Why did I have to be born a citizen of this country, surrounded by the sound of nothing but bombs exploding and guns firing? As time went by, however, and I came to assurance of faith through the Bible, happiness that depended on external circumstances no longer had a meaning for me. All I could think was that I was really fortunate, and it had nothing to do with my nationality or the conditions in which I lived. What would have become of me if this person, called me, had simply existed within the shell of my physical being and had never known the relief that came when I came to know this much-needed truth? The very thought of it sends shivers down my spine. A certain confidence arose within me, having assurance that this truth had been firmly established in my life that had been destined for nothing but wretchedness. This was because I had come to know that the promise of which the Bible speaks had been established within me. Jesus said of Judas Iscariot, "It would have been good for that man if he had not been born." These words do not only apply to Judas Iscariot, they need to be heard by everyone born into this world. What does it matter if a person is born with black skin, white skin, or yellow skin? We all have a precious spirit within us. If man did not have a spirit inside of him, he would be no different from an animal. People are born, and in the course of their lives, when they are able to go out and earn money, they buy the things they need to dress themselves. Yet, how does the mink compare with man, who must change his clothes depending on the weather? The mink is born in a perfectly fitting suit of clothes. In autumn and winter, its fur is thick and warm, and in spring and summer, its fur is thinner. It changes its clothes naturally when it molts. It is more fortunate than man in that it does not need to be concerned about the way it clothes itself. In Korea, there is a saying that goes, when a tiger dies, it leaves behind its skin, and when a person dies, he leaves behind his name. The Bible tells us that a person who dies without having received a definite answer as to why he has been born is no different from an animal. It also says that such people are like natural brute beasts, made to be caught and destroyed. If this is the fate of man, he is in a really pitiful situation. It is quite horrifying to think about this matter. The essence of man is not the outer shell of the flesh. It is the being inside this shell. There is a certain power that controls man's hearts and his thoughts. The Bible makes a clear distinction in regard to this point. Now may the God of peace himself sanctify you completely, and may your whole spirit, soul, and body be preserved blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. This verse says, your whole spirit, soul, and body. Man has a spirit, a soul, and a body. These together form a trinity. This is something that happened a long time ago. I was with some friends beside a river, and I said to them, in 6 months' time, I will be able to walk on that water. They all looked at me as though I was a little crazy, and they were probably thinking, he believes in Jesus, so now it seems he thinks he can imitate Jesus and walk on the water. But 6 months later, I did indeed walk on that water. I skated on it. Just as water has the 3 forms of solid, liquid, and vapor, man also is made up of spirit, soul, and body. Man also has 3 stages to his life: the time he spends in the womb, the time he spends in this world, and the time he spends in the eternal world. This is why the Bible tells us that man has a longing for eternity in his heart. Generally, people do not live any more than 100 years, and yet they tell many lies in that time. They say, for example, I will love you forever. It is because they have a longing for eternity in their hearts that people say such things even though they only live for a few decades, never mind forever. God made man in such a way that he would long for eternity. Even though the body ages, the spirit does not change, so the mind alone remains youthful. There are times when elderly people watch children running around, playing excitedly and having fun, and they themselves have fun, caught up in the atmosphere. If you ask them why they are so excited, they will tell you they are still young at heart. Their hearts are still so young because their spirits do not grow old.